The stars were cold above the quiet moon. Dust blew across its surface, like whispers of old secrets. There were no cities, no lights, no sound, only the echo of forgotten machines buried under layers of ash and time. Small scavenger ship hovered just above the surface. Its hull was patched with metal from 10 different systems. It belonged to the Brelk, a small crew of outlaw salvagers who didn't care for laws or warnings. They hunted wrecks and ruins across the dead zones, always looking for something they could sell. Today, they found a human. They didn't mean to. They landed near an old mining station, half buried and silent. The scanners had picked up a strange signal, organic life, still breathing. That was rare in the outer dark. Captain Vrosh, a tall, bony creature with 4 yellow eyes and a voice like grinding stone, gave the order. Get it. If it breathes, it sells. 2 of his crew entered the ruins. They expected an animal, maybe an old android with human DNA inside. But what they dragged out was worse. It was a real human. Alive. And smiling. He wore old clothes. No armor. No gear. No weapons. His face was calm, his body thin and quiet. But he didn't look afraid. Even when they threw him in a holding cell on their ship, he just stared at them. Where are the others? Captain Vrosh demanded. The human didn't speak. Your kind are extinct. You shouldn't exist. Still no answer. The crew laughed. They were 10 in number, from 4 species. All had heard the stories about humans. Ghost stories. War legends. Tales of ships that vanished and empires that fell. But they didn't believe, not really, after all, who had seen a human in the last 500 years. They weren't scared. Not yet. That changed on the first night. The ship drifted through space, heading for a trade outpost. They planned to sell the human to a black market collector who loved rare things. But the human didn't sleep. He sat still in the cell, his eyes always open, always watching the cameras. And then, the lights flickered, systems began to fail. First, it was the food processor. Then the nav-com. Then the engines. Stuttered. Vrosh called his engineer. The systems were fine. No errors, no signs of attack. But something was wrong. The ship felt colder. The walls seemed to hum. Then the pilot screamed. He was alone in the cockpit. No one saw what happened. But the camera showed him sitting there, whispering something over and over. They're coming. They're coming. They're coming. Then the screen went black. When they found him, his skin was frozen. But the ship hadn't lost temperature. Something else had done it. Vrosh turned back to the human. He slammed his fists against the cell wall. What did you do? The human looked up, smiled again, and said his first words. You broke the rule. The crew began arguing. Some wanted to eject the human into space. Others wanted to keep him alive. He might be worth more than they imagined. But deep down, fear had already taken hold. The second crew member vanished the next night. No noise, no struggle. Just gone. Only his boots were left. Sitting neatly by the hallway door. That's when the first signal came. It was ancient and old Earth frequency, unused for centuries. The bridge screen lit up with static. Then a voice, cracked and filled with echoes. Unit 7 Alpha responding. Violation detected. Rule broken. Enforcement begins. The signal cut. And space around them changed. Stars flickered. A cold fog began to spread outside the ship. Their scanners picked up movement, something massive, slow, and watching. It's a trap, whispered their navigator. He called them. He called the Terrans. Vrosh ordered full retreat. But the engines were frozen, not damaged, not destroyed, just stopped, like they were afraid to move. The human still sat in the cell. No food, no water. But he looked stronger now. His eyes no longer calm. They were glowing. The third crew member tried to run in an escape pod. It never launched. They found it drifting inside the ship. Crushed, bent from the inside. No body inside. Just blood. The alien crew began turning on each other. One blamed the captain. Another tried to shoot the human, but his weapon jammed. The shot bounced back and hit him instead. The human stood. The door to his cell opened. No one had touched it. He walked slowly toward the bridge. Vrosh aimed his rifle. Stop! But the human didn't stop Dot, and Vrash couldn't pull the trigger. His hands shook. His bones ached. His mind whispered one word: run. The human walked past him and sat in the captain's chair, calm, silent. He looked at the stars and spoke one more sentence: they'll be here soon. Outside, the stars blinked again. One by one, giant shapes came into view. Ships old and silent, drifting like shadows. Each bore the mark of Earth. No signals. No threats. Just presence. Vrash fell to his knees. He finally understood. The stories were true. Long ago, after a great war, the galaxy made a silent agreement: never capture, harm, or provoke a human. It wasn't written. It wasn't enforced by law. But it was known, because the last time a human was hurt, an entire star system disappeared. The crew was gone now. One by one, erased. Only Vrash remained, and the human, who now stared at the silent fleet outside. Then the ship's comm system lit up again. This time, the voice was clear, cold and human. Rule broken. Enforcement confirmed. The screen went black. In every corner of the galaxy, old sensors picked up the same signal. Council members woke from sleep. War generals paused. Entire species froze. The message repeated. They found him, and across space. Every species remembered the rule again. Never touch a human. Because if you do, they come back. And they don't come alone. The Galactic Council met in panic. The Great Hall of Ralzer, floating at the center of the neutral systems, had not seen such chaos in 500 years. Lights flashed red. Emergency protocols were active. The walls pulsed with warning glyphs. There were 12 council seats, each held by a representative from the strongest species in the galaxy. And on this day, every seat was filled. High Chancellor Trevix of the Eldari spoke first. His voice was calm, but his eyes betrayed fear. A human has been taken. His signal is confirmed. We all saw the fleet. None answered. Some lowered their heads. Others whispered to their aides. The silence meant one thing. They all remembered. They remembered what had happened the last time someone broke the rule. Counselor Jeruin, a thick-scaled being from the warlike Brakari, slammed his fist on the table. This is madness. The humans are gone. Their world is closed. Their systems have been dark for centuries. No, replied Counselor Lethera, the feathered scholar of the Ilari. Their systems were silent. That is different. The difference was deadly. It was true. No one had heard from humans in centuries. Their homeworld Earth had sealed its borders long ago. All who approached were warned. Those who didn't listen never returned. And so, the galaxy learned. Humans were left alone, their territories marked in red. Every child, from the desert moons of Valtraxis to the crystal cities of Zenth, grew up learning the same phrase: never provoke the humans. Because behind that silence was power. The scavenger ship's message had been clear. A human was taken. The ship vanished hours later. Not destroyed, just gone. Like it had never existed. Now something had woken up. Old Earth military frequencies were active again. Drones the galaxy hadn't seen in ages were patrolling ancient borders. And far beyond the outer rim, massive energy spikes had been detected matching the signature of human war engines. They're returning, whispered Counselor Sovek of the Soren. Not yet, said Chancellor Trevix. But they are watching. We must act carefully. What if we contact them? Asked Lethera. You don't contact them, said the Chancellor sharply. You wait. You show respect. You pray. More silence. Then a comms officer rushed into the chamber. He was pale, shaking. We received a transmission. Every head turned. From where? Trevix asked. From the Sol sector, the officer whispered. From Earth. Gasps filled the hall. Earth hadn't spoken in 487 years. Play it, Trevix commanded. The lights dimmed. A screen rose from the center of the chamber. Static filled it for a few seconds. Then an image, simple, terrifying. A human face. A man. Gray eyes. No expression. Behind him, only darkness. He stared into the camera, as if looking into the soul of every being watching. Then he spoke. He was taken. We did not forget. The screen flickered. More images followed. Faint outlines of ships, giants, behemoths made of black alloy and ancient light. They hovered above a dead star system. Then, nothing. The screen went dark. Was that live? Asked Counselor Drouin, his voice dry. Yes, the officer said. It came through a sealed quantum line. One only Earth has access to. Chancellor Trevix stood slowly. We must call for silence. Absolute. No contact. No patrols near their borders. No statements. No movements. But what if they attack? Someone asked. Trevix turned to face them. They won't. Not yet. They always give one warning. Counselor Lethera leaned forward. Her feathers trembled. And if we ignore it? Trevix didn't answer, but everyone already knew. There were stories, lost files from ancient battles. Accounts of ships that vanished before their alarms even sounded. Fleets that entered human space and never sent a final message. And then there was the event not 400 years ago. A mercenary fleet entered Sol space. They believed the humans were weak, scattered, unprepared. They were wrong, every ship in that fleet disappeared in 13 seconds. That 13 no debris. No survivors. Just silence. After that, the rule became universal. Humans are untouchable. Every species obeyed. Every species warned their children. But someone had forgotten. Now all would pay the price. Counselor Drouin stood suddenly. I refuse to bow to a dead species. If they want war, let them come. The chamber shook. Literally. The lights dimmed. Power flickered. Emergency shields rose. What is this? Trevix shouted. The comms officer screamed. Something's in orbit above this station. They all turned to the window, and there it was. A ship, massive, silent, no engine glow. No sound. It hadn't come through a gate. It hadn't been tracked. It had just appeared. Human design. Earth signature. But unlike anything in their records, the ship hovered above the council station, casting a shadow so large it blocked out the nearest star. It didn't move, that it didn't speak. It only existed. That was enough. The signal returned from every screen, every device, every implant. He was taken. The rule was broken. You were warned. Counselor Drouin fell back in his seat. Sweat rolled down his thick skin. Trevix looked at the others. His voice cracked. They're not attacking. They're reminding us of what? Whispered Lethera. Trevix looked up at the black ship in orbit, that they never left. And deep in the silence of space, across every species, every world, and every system, the old fear returned. The exploration fleet had no name. That was on purpose. The Galactic Council didn't want to cause panic. They told the people it was a routine patrol into the outer dark, near the Sol sector. But the ships were not patrol ships. They were warships, 18 of them. Fast, armed, silent. Leading the fleet was Commander Halvik of the Vexery. He was a cold strategist, known for his precision and logic. He didn't believe in myths. He didn't fear old stories. He had studied humans. In the archives. He believed they were clever, yes, but gone. Dead species don't threaten, he told his crew. But the crew didn't believe him. Not after what happened to the scavenger ship. Not after the message. Not after the black ship appeared above the Yi Council station and vanished without trace an hour later. Still, orders were orders. The fleet jumped to the edge of human space, near the gray expanse. It was a dead zone, no planets, no signals, no activity. But that was where the signal came from. The same frequency the scavengers had triggered. At first, all was quiet. They moved in formation, scanners wide. No ships, no weapons, no signs of life. But as they moved deeper, something felt wrong. Too still, too perfect. Space itself felt hollow. Their long-range sensors found a system ahead. 5 planets, 1 yellow sun, all marked dead. But when they arrived, the planets were not dead. They were gone. Not destroyed. Gone. Orbit paths were intact. Debris fields floated where moons once existed. Gravity patterns still bent space. But no planets, no cities, no rock. Not even dust. It was like something had erased them. The fleet slowed. Commander Halvik frowned at the readings. Scan deeper, he ordered. The ships sent out probes. One returned. Just one. The footage it carried made the crew whisper in fear. The video showed a single object in the void. It looked like a satellite. Old, damaged, covered in symbols. In human language. The probe's camera zoomed in. A message was written across the satellite's hull in burning letters. We asked for peace. We offer only silence now. The screen went black. No damage. No attack. Just silence. Then one of the ships, the Velkar's Claw, reported system errors. Then another. Then a third. Within minutes, 5 ships stopped responding. No weapons fired. No distress calls. They were simply gone. Halvik's command ship activated full combat mode. Shields up. Drones launched. Still nothing on scanners. But the crew began hearing things. Voices. Old. Voices. In their native tongues. Voices of lost loved ones. Parents. Children. Dead crew members. Some heard their own voices whispering secrets they never told anyone. A captain shot himself in the bridge. Another tried to fly his ship into the sun. It wasn't there anymore. One crewman tore his eyes out, screaming that he had seen Earth. Commander Halvik tried to send a message to the council. No reply. The comms were alive, but nothing got through. Then the static returned. A single sound, faint behind the noise. Breathing. Deep. Human. Calm. Then a whisper. Why did you come? The fleet was now 12. Halvik ordered a full retreat. But when they turned, the space behind them had changed. More ships floated there, massive human constructs, covered in dust and old battle scars, but active. Their engines lit with quiet fire. Command ship's AI ran identification scans. They didn't match any known fleet. Not military. Not civilian. Just a tagline. Unit. HEL. Human Enforcement Linea. Halvik stood frozen. I don't know what this is, he whispered. Then the A. I spoke one last time. Matching historical records. Confirmed. Class. Judgment level deterrent. Vessels. No such class existed in any archive. It had only been mentioned once. In a half-burned report from 400 years ago. The report had a single note. Judgment-class ships are not to be approached. Ever. They are not for war. They are for endings. The crew prepared for the worst, but the ships did not attack. They just hovered there, watching. One of them sent a signal. A human voice again. This was your only warning. Turn back, or be turned to nothing. The remaining ships fled. Not one looked back. When they reached the edge of soul space, the comms returned. A signal was sent to the council. Do not enter their systems again. The humans remember. They are not angry. They are ready. Back at the council hall, Trevix read the report with shaking hands. The fleet hadn't just seen ships. They had seen memories, turned into weapons. Old Earth war technology, thought extinct, now awake and watching. He looked out the window, toward the distant stars. Didn't hide because they were weak, he whispered. They hid because they were giving us time. And now the galaxy was out of time. The Tyrvask believed they were strong. They were a rising warrior race, young, proud, and hungry for glory. Their ships were sharp-edged and blood-colored. Their leaders wore armor made from the bones of conquered species. And they didn't fear humans. In fact, they mocked the fear. Old cowards hide behind old legends, said Warlord Jurgen, the leader of the Tyrvask battle fleet. No race deserves to be called untouchable. If they breathe, they can bleed. His words were met with cheers. Hundreds of warriors slammed their fists into their chests. They believed what their ancestors never dared say, that the rule was weakness, that fear was a chain. They didn't know the full truth. They didn't care. And when the council begged them to stay away from soul space, the Tyrvask did the opposite. They declared a hunt. Their target was an old human station, one that had been drifting for centuries near the edges of a gas cloud. The galaxy called it dead, a graveyard of steel, but Jurgen believed it was a challenge. If this is where the humans come from, he said, we will take it. We will carve our banners into their ghosts. 6 ships, 500 warriors. They entered the void with their drums echoing through the dark. Songs of blood and conquest. No one answered. The station was there. Floating. Silent. A metal ring almost 100 kilometers wide, with rusted towers and shattered panels. It looked harmless. Empty. They docked. No resistance. No signals. Only silence. Jurgen and his best entered first. They found old hallways, flickering lights, shattered glass, and human writing burned into the walls. They couldn't read the words. But something about the lines made their skin crawl. One warrior laughed. "This is your great human power?" he shouted. "Dead wires and broken walls?" His voice echoed. Then stopped. He was the first to disappear. No scream. No blood. Just gone. The others spread out, searching, shouting his name. Then another. Vanished. Then two more. Jurgen ordered a retreat, but the docking bay was sealed. Somehow the doors had closed. The ships outside were dark, not damaged. Just quiet. Then the lights returned. Not the station lights. Something deeper. Something underneath. From the walls came the hum of old machines. Green, blue, red. Then a voice. It echoed through the minds of the Tyrvask. Not through speakers. Not through sound. Through memory. Intruders detected. Access unauthorized. Defense protocol activated. Jurgen screamed into his comms. "Show yourself. We are the Tyrvask. We do not fear your machines." The lights turned red. The floor vibrated. And from the shadows machines came. Not drones. Not robots. They were walking armor, ancient Terran warframes. Black plates. Red visors. Covered in old symbols. Each moved like a ghost. Silent. Swift. They didn't speak. They didn't hesitate. They struck. In minutes. 20 warriors were dead, cut apart with energy blades, burned with weapons the Tyrvask didn't understand. One warframe looked at Jurgen. He raised his weapon. It didn't move. Then it spoke. In perfect Tyrvask language. "You were warned. The galaxy remembers. You forgot." Jurgen charged. The last thing he saw was the red visor flaring. The last thing he felt was the cold of Earth's judgment. When the Council sent a drone weeks later, it found no tier. Vask ships. No bodies. Only the station. Now active. Now watching. The drone sent back one image before it vanished. A Tyrvask war banner ripped, torn, and nailed to the outer wall. Below it, written in human letters, "Let this be the last time." Across the galaxy, every species went silent. Even the Tyrvisk homeworld didn't respond to calls. One of their moons exploded from inside. No warning. No explanation. No survivors. The rule was not just legend. It was law. Because now the humans weren't waiting. They were watching. And the galaxy remembered. Kelvara was not a soldier. He was an archivist. While others ruled, traded, or fought, he studied the past. He lived inside a giant moon library on the edge of the Uridan cluster, surrounded by scrolls, data cubes, and long-lost records. His species, the Varn, were known for memory. They forgot nothing, but lately the galaxy was whispering again about the humans, ships gone missing, silent threats, a forgotten station waking up, a warrior fleet that never returned. Kelvara listened, and something deep in him stirred an old fear buried beneath curiosity. He had read the human stories before, half-burned, blocked, erased by order of the Galactic Council. Most believed those records were exaggerations, but Kelvara wasn't sure anymore. One night, while the moon was quiet and the stars glowed like silent witnesses, he opened the Forbidden's archive, a vault locked for centuries. It took him 6 hours to break the seals. What he found changed everything. There were records labeled only E-events. One was a recording, no image. Only sound. A fleet commander's voice, panicked. "We thought they were gone." But they weren't. They just let us win. The file ended in static and a scream. Another file showed a satellite log from Deep Sol. Space. Footage revealed a swarm of dark ships moving without heat signatures, invisible to scanners. The log said they were powered by zero-time reactors. Kelvara had never heard of such a thing. Then he found something worse. A document marked Judgment Class Activation Protocol. It listed 112 human ship types. Most had destroyed or retired written next to them, but 12 were marked as sleeping, and one had no name, just a symbol dot an I. The notes beside it read, "Use only when extinction is required." Kelvara sat back, heart pounding. The humans hadn't vanished. They had gone silent. On purpose, they sealed their worlds. Not because they were weak, but because they wanted no war. And the galaxy believed them gone, because the alternative was worse. He found one final message buried beneath layers of code. It was from a human admiral during the last Great War, almost 500 years ago. We gave them peace. We asked for peace. But they feared us, hunted us, called us monsters. So we walked away. We built walls around the stars. Not to keep them out, but to keep ourselves in. Kelvara stared at the last line over and over. If they ever come again, it will be because we were provoked. And when that happens, the stars forgive what we become. Suddenly, the room grew cold. His data cube shut down. All lights turned blue, then black. The archive's AI voice spoke, trembling. Unauthorized access detected. Human archives activated. Enforcement inbound. Kelvara froze. Outside, stars began to flicker. Not because they dimmed, but because something passed between them. A ship. No. A shadow. Something massive, slow, an old dot. The same symbol glowed on its hull. The eye. Kelvara dropped to his knees. He wasn't afraid for himself. He was afraid for the galaxy. Because he now knew the truth. Humans had not vanished. They had chosen silence. And the moment that silence was broken, the galaxy woke a force it could never control. The stars above Sector 17 flickered strangely, as if space itself was holding its breath. For the last 4 days, the Galactic Union had tried everything: diplomacy, threats, even full-scale assault fleets. But nothing worked. The human ship, Vanguard of Silence, still drifted silently above the planet Travos 3. It hadn't fired a single shot. It hadn't spoken a single word. And yet, 10 fleets were gone. 10 species now whispered legends in panic. Inside the Union war room on Locterus Prime, Supreme Strategist Veltak stood frozen. The feeds on the screen showed the wrecks of their ships, debris fields stretching light minutes wide. No explosion. No trace weapon. No survivors. How does a vessel destroy without firing? One of the junior officers whispered. No one answered. In the back of the room, silent until now, Grand Archivist Lurith finally spoke. He was over 900 years old, one of the oldest keepers of knowledge. He stepped forward, his voice quiet and heavy. "The rule," he said. "You all thought it was a joke, a legend, superstition." Veltak turned to him. "You mean the old Earth Treaty? The rule of Untouchables?" Lurith nodded. "But we destroyed Earth. Humans were scattered, broken. Their last colonies are nothing but ruins." Veltak snapped, though his voice trembled. "You destroyed their home," Lurith said. "Not their spirit, and not the rule." The room fell silent. Lurith continued. "The rule was never meant to warn us. It was a promise. A declaration that if you harm them, if you ever forget the respect they command, they won't argue. They won't negotiate. They'll simply respond." Veltak tried to speak, but words died in his throat. Across the stars, reports were flooding. Ships vanishing near black holes. Starbases losing power moments before their destruction. Trade routes turning cold. Even high-ranked officers began disappearing without a trace. No signs of entry. No struggle, just gone. And everywhere the same message appeared, in human tongue, burned into systems. Rule broken. Response engaged. No signature. No reply. When hailed. Only silence. On the mining colony of Jackson 4, the local governor was reviewing the evacuation logs when the system lights dimmed. A human stood in the shadows of the control tower, though none had seen him enter. "Who are you?" The governor gasped. The human tilted his head. "You broke the rule. I didn't do anything. You watched it happen." With that, the power grid shut down. Every system died. No weapons worked. No engines powered. Nothing. The human vanished as silently as he came. Above, an old Earth War satellite, long thought destroyed in ancient wars, activated. One red eye lit up. Meanwhile, aboard the Union dreadnought Orion's Teeth, Captain Esdak stood near panic. They were far from Dravos, deep in neutral space, yet one by one, his ships were disappearing from sensors. They're not using technology, his engineer muttered. They're using fear. What does that mean? Rizuk barked. Sir, the crews are abandoning ship. Some jumped into space without suits. Others locked themselves in and just shut down. We didn't even get attacked. And then the dreadnought's AI displayed a human face, no signal. No source, just a face. It whispered a single word. Untouchable. And everything went dark across the galaxy, from the insectoid hives of the Zulkai to the crystalline courts of the Nirvith. An old, buried fear began to rise again. They remembered now. Not just the wars, not just the victories humans claimed, but the response they gave when cornered. The last time the rule was broken, 100 systems burned. Empires crumbled. The silence that followed had lasted centuries. Now, the silence had ended. Not with noise, but with a promise fulfilled. And still, the vanguard of silence didn't move, didn't speak. It didn't need to, because every species knew. The rule now, humans are untouchable, and this time they wouldn't remind you. They'd erase you. Darkness moved in the far corners of space. No one saw it. No one felt it. But every commander across the border systems suddenly felt uneasy. Patrols went missing. Communication buoys went silent. Whole trading routes were abandoned without warning. And yet, no one dared to say the one word that burned in everyone's mind. Humans. After the massacre at Kevalon Drift, after the appearance of the old Earth vessel that disappeared before anyone could identify it, things changed. Captain Zar of the Korathi fleet had been in command for 80 years. He had fought dozens of species, crushed rebellions, and even stared into the black holes near the Varn system. But nothing chilled him like the latest report. Your fleet entered Sector 9 GZ, correct? Asked the hologram of High Executor Veltri. Zar nodded. Yes, routine scan. 4 cruisers. Minimal resistance expected. Did you encounter resistance? Zar took a breath. No, we found nothing. Not even wreckage. Only one message. Left on a beacon. Veltri's sharp eyes narrowed. Message? Zar uploaded the file. The hologram flickered, then played the audio. It was a human voice. Calm, cold. You broke the rule. Now the shadows remember. Veltri sat still for several seconds. Then she leaned back. Did you trace it? Zar shook his head. The signal bounced through hundreds of relay points. It ended near old Earth space. But that system's been dead for centuries. There's nothing there. Except legends, Veltri whispered. The Council had once declared humanity extinct. After the Treaty of the Untouchable Species, it was said Earth had fallen into silence, choosing to isolate itself after the final war. The galaxy assumed they'd vanished, content with their own corner of space. But now, ships were going missing. Unmarked vessels appeared on sensor logs, and strange ruins were being found with ancient human markings and warnings carved into stone. In the deep reaches of the Solari Belt, an excavation team unearthed an ancient Terran command console. It was offline, its systems fused from battle damage and age. But when power was rerouted, the interface reactivated. Only one line blinked on the screen. They're not ready for our silence to end. Every engineer backed away. Even the most logical ones felt something unnatural in the air. Like something watching. Like the machine was alive. The Council's panic spread. Meetings grew heated. Accusations flew. Some claimed the humans never left. Others insisted they had evolved into something different. In Sector 9 GZ, where Zar's ships had vanished, a single escape pod was recovered drifting near an asteroid field. Inside, the Korathi pilot was alive but blind, trembling, and repeating one thing over and over. They didn't fire. They didn't speak. They just stared, like they knew me. Like they knew everything I've done. He didn't stop trembling until his heart stopped 3 hours later. ZAR, now stationed far from that zone, stared at the dark stars every night. Something was out there. Something older than war. Older than peace. In a remote listening post, a young technician named Reyna picked up a faint signal, barely a whisper. The AI said it was non-threatening background radiation. Reyna listened closer anyway. The whisper became a voice, and that voice said only one thing: the rule is broken. And now the stars will remember why it was made. She fell out of her chair, hands shaking, and across the galaxy, deep in the abandoned sector once called Sol, something awoke. A ship. Silent. Cold. Dead. Until now. Its engines glowed softly. And its nameplate was still clear after 20,000 years of dust. HS. Remembrance. The ship humans never built, because it was never meant for war. It was meant for judgment. The galactic battlefield was silent, not from peace, but from fear. Ships from over 100 species floated in orbit around Ralver 9, weapons locked and ready. The stars above burned cold. No one dared speak. No one dared act. Not since the last hour, because something had arrived. A signal. A voice. Human, but not from Earth. Not from any ship. It came from the void itself. From a point in space that had been empty only moments ago. Then it spoke. Captain Voro of the Thrix Dominion sat frozen in his command chair. His claws trembled. He had been the one who gave the order to attack the human colony on Grand 6. He thought it would be an easy strike, just another warning to the humans to stay in their place. Instead, he had awakened something ancient. First came the silence and eerie, painful quiet across the galactic combs. No threats. No retaliation. No defense. Then the black void near Ralver 9 twisted. A hole opened in space, not a wormhole. Not a gate, just blackness swallowing light, and from it a human voice echoed. You were warned, but you forgot the rule. Now we remember you. High Lord Terak of the Zenthari Empire dropped his ceremonial blade. His people had voted to break the treaty with humans. They wanted power. Territory. He now watched as the stars bent around the ghost ship that emerged from the black. No engine signature, no heat, no life, and yet it moved with purpose. Over 1,000 kilometers long, silent, smooth, shaped like a blade that cut reality itself. Every scan failed. Every probe vanished. No one knew what it was, but all knew what it meant. The humans were untouchable, and this was their final messenger. Inside the Galactic Council Hall on Ulrian Prime, the ambassadors of dozens of species shouted over one another. Panic filled the air. They're going to wipe us out. That ship is beyond anything in our archives. Where is Earth? They vanished for years now. Only one being remained calm. Ambassador Lin Vei of the Terran Reclamation Corps, the last human allowed inside the council. She stood slowly. Silence. She said in a voice both soft and thunderous, "You have broken the rule. You attacked our people again and again. You whispered behind closed doors. You plotted." She stepped forward. "You forgot why the rule existed." One ambassador, trembling, asked, "What is that ship?" Lin Vei's eyes were cold. "That ship is memory. It holds everything. Every war, every betrayal, every name, every species that tried to make humans bleed. The ship moved. No engines. No sound. Just motion. It passed through defense lines like they weren't there. It approached Ralver 9, where thousands of warships waited. They opened fire. Missiles, lasers, plasma. Nothing touched it. Instead, they vanished mid-flight, as if deleted. Then the ship spoke again. "We gave you peace. You chose war. This is not revenge. This is memory. And memory burns." One by one, ships began to vanish, not explode, vanish, like they had never existed. Entire fleets erased in silence. Species screamed, across channels, pleaded, begged, but the ship didn't stop. Admiral Jera of the Coalition Armada watched as her armada disappeared. She was old enough to remember the first contact accords. She remembered the rule. Do not touch the humans. She had voted against the latest attack. But now, it didn't matter. The ship's shadow passed over her bridge. Her crew cried. She whispered. One last word. Forgive. But the ship had no mercy. It didn't destroy life. It erased history. Every being involved in the vote. Every general. Every commander. Every record. Gone. Until only silence remained. And the voice. The final message went out across the galaxy. The rule is no longer just a warning. It is a command etched into the stars. Touch humanity again, and we will remember you. And memory does not forgive. On Earth, in the quiet forests of New Zealand, a young girl named Elia watched the stars shimmer above. She had never seen war. She didn't even know what was happening in the skies far beyond. But her father, an old man with scars across his back and a faded military patch, looked up with eyes full of sorrow and pride. It's over, he whispered. She looked at him. What is, Papa? He smiled sadly. Everything. The galactic war ended in a single day. No peace treaties. No negotiations. Only silence. And the ship, memory, returning to its void. Every race now knew the rule was not just law. It was survival. Because humans were not gods. They were not monsters. They were the line that should never be crossed. And in every academy, in every star empire, one phrase was now carved into every wall. Every species knows the rule: humans are untouchable.